The Rugby Nations Championship is in round 3, and this is the Southern Hemisphere's last chance at home to be able to take some more points off Northern Hemisphere teams before they have 3 away matches in November. Now, this is going to be a massive week, and we haven't seen a huge amount of upsets so far, but I can definitely see some really contestable matches within this week. The game I believe will be least close will be South Africa versus Wales, and that's just because of South Africa's pure dominance within their whole side and their dominance they have held for the last 8 years. Now, the South Africans, of course, we won't need to talk about them much this video because of how good they have been. So we will move on to possibly the biggest matchup of the weekend, which is the All Blacks versus the Irish. Now, these are two sides who have come off 2 wins to start off this Nations Championship, but one of those streaks will end this weekend, and these two sides haven't looked perfect, but I would say the All Blacks have looked possibly better, although Ireland have been able to grind out wins. Now, last week's win over Japan was not at all easy. They really had to dig in and only came out with the win really late in the game. Now, the Japanese have actually looked really exciting so far this year, but the Irish honestly haven't looked perfect. They haven't looked like the side we have been used to seeing over the past year or so, past 5 or 6 years or so, and that's meant that they have been bit underwhelming so far this Nations Championship. Now, the All Blacks haven't failed to disappoint so far, but they only had a tight win over the French and then beat the Italians well after a really tightly contested first half. Now, that's where games are won, though, in the second half and being able to put points on the board, but they still haven't looked the perfect side, and no one expected them to, after Dave Rennie has only come in very recently. But what does this matter? It means that the All Blacks and the Irish are going to have a massive matchup. And it's not the rivalry of what we have seen over the past 5-10 years, where they have been the dominant sides in the world by far. These two sides are actually possibly dipping and have dipped over the past few years in how good they have played. So it is a huge contest to see where they can push on from here and could decide where their momentum moves going into those Northern Hemisphere big test matches. Now, this is obviously a very modern rivalry. Ireland have only really come into their own in the world of rugby in the past 10 years, but they have really been able to push forward and win big matches against the All Blacks and have been very tight competition recently. We saw in the 2023 World Cup there was an epic encounter in the quarterfinal. New Zealand just edged out the win, but we are seeing such a good rivalry being developed between these two nations, and I could definitely see this being another epic battle this weekend. Now, after this big test match, obviously Ireland will be having a break. Those players have had a long season, while the All Blacks will be going to South Africa. So the Irish, this game is key for them to sort of end their season and be able to end their season on a high and be able to have that positivity going into next season, while the All Blacks will be wanting to, first of all, develop all their players at this high level because of the new team they're building, but also have a win so that coming into that South Africa tour, they are undefeated in 2026, and they really will have something to show off against these South Africans. Well, these two sides have both gone with locks at blindside flanker. Tug Byrne for Ireland, such a physical, tough player for the Irish, is going to be taking that number 6 jersey, while Tuipulotu will be playing his first match under Dave Rennie at number 6, and this could be an interesting use of him, considering the fact that we have such a lot of depth in that area, well, a decent amount of depth in that area, and a lot of convertible players around that. Does he just want that extra line out and height that and physicality that Tuipulotu brings, because they won't be losing as much by replacing the likes of Swala Satiti for him, whereas the rest of the team is relatively unchanged. They've gone with that combination. Dave McKenzie's looking to go full back again. Ruben Love I'm loving at number 10, and Will Jordan on the wing. And then on the other wing, they are going with Morby, who has had an outstanding start to this season. First of all with the Hurricanes, and now last week with the All Blacks off the bench. He scored a few tries there, and he really showed he can step up to big occasions. So Morby is going to be key. If he can produce magic on the wing, the All Blacks could really be looking good this weekend against the Irish. I'm really enjoying how he is fitting in. How he fitted in last weekend against the Italians. So hopefully he can replicate that there. For the rest of the lineup, though, they've stuck with Luke Jacobson at number 7, which doesn't really surprise me because of how well he has played and how Dave Rennie, I think, wants to stick with him at number 7. It's that work rate that he brings to the table is nothing less than superb, and you cannot look past him for a big test match like this. This could be a stage where it's win or lose for him whether he keeps that number 7 jersey. If he can put out a massive performance, he may be that guy that stays in that 7 for the whole time until the World Cup next year. Now on the Irish side, we've seen them, they've been relatively good, but we know these two sides play really similar rugby, and the Irish haven't had the perfect start so far to this Nations Championship. And the players they bring in, there is a bit of quite a lot of experience there, but also maybe a lack of playmaking ability in this big stage. So that could be a question for Ireland. But now I will move on to some matchups to watch this weekend. Well, we have France playing Japan, and this game is going to be really revolving around the backs and the attacking play that they can produce. France really love to play exciting attacking movements forward, while Japan are very fluid as well in the back line. So that's where it could really be an exciting game to watch, France versus Japan. But I think France will have enough physicality up front to dominate Japan. Yes, Japan have been pretty impressive so far this Nations Championship, but I still believe France, after their second half performance against Australia should show enough to get the win here. Then England are playing Argentina. Now, this could be an absolute battle. England were very good against Fiji, while Argentina were impressive against the Welsh. And we know how physical they are. I believe Argentina are going to outplay the English at home, despite the fact that Argentina haven't been perfect so far. I just think that when they have their backs running and playing impressive rugby, the players such as Carreras, the two Carrerases, and the rest of the back line are pretty difficult to stop when they are playing running rugby. England, on the other hand, will be up for the battle, so it could be an epic this weekend between these two sides. Now, I have a storm warning incoming because I believe that the Italians are going to beat the Australians. I have talked about how Australia have actually started this 2026 year off really well. But what we have seen over the past 2 years is just that Australia cannot put a solid performance in the second half of a big test match. And that's where Italy are going to make use and really make it difficult for Australia, because Italy are so good at playing exciting rugby and playing the full 80 and love to produce upsets. We saw against the All Blacks, Italy had such a really good first half performance, but dropped off in the second half, but then they did come back late. So could we see them pull off an impressive win over the Australians? That would be something exciting to put in for the Nations Championship. I do think they have enough quality there, the Italians. We've seen them over the past few years. They have shown that they are able to take down nearly any team in the world. And that's why I think they are going to beat the Australians. Now, my player to watch this weekend is from Scotland. It's Sione Tuipulotu. Now, he has had 2 very impressive starts to this Nations Championship for Scotland. And against Fiji, I think he will be very difficult to stop. His physicality, his pace, and the ability to score tries Sione Tuipulotu has, he will be tough to stop at home, since the Fijians are playing all their home games away. It'll be at Murrayfield. And we know how good the Scots are at Murrayfield. So Sione Tuipulotu, I think, is going to be a wrecking ball this weekend yet again. What a player the Scots have with Sione Tuipulotu. Now, with that match, I think Scotland will win out easily, and that brings me to my forecast picks this weekend. So Scotland, I think, will win relatively easily against the Fijians, who haven't shown perfect rugby so far this year, while I think Italy will beat Australia. England are going to fall to the Argentinians, while France will have too much quality for Japan. Now, for the All Blacks vs Ireland, I think this will be a 3-point game, with the All Blacks just edging out the win. Looking forward, after these big matches, these teams, the Northern Hemisphere teams, will be having a bit of a break after a long season, while the All Blacks in South Africa will be heading out in the greatest rivalry tour soon after. So it's key that those two sides get some momentum going into that, while those Northern Hemisphere teams finish out their seasons with fire. Now, in November, these Nations Championship tournaments will be coming back with the Northern Hemisphere matches in November. So look forward to them, and look forward to this weekend, of course, because there is a lot to look forward to. Thank you for listening.